Ma'am, good evening and congratulations.
Thank you very much.
I mean, no matter how many times we listen to the acceptance speech, it is just amazing.
It's all known, I'm sure. Yeah.
Right, ma'am. So obviously there is a lot of chatter going on in the room. You received a lot of congratulations. We thought we'll take a couple of minutes over here and relay some of the questions that the audience has for you. Jyoti, who heads our delivery, has been interacting with the audiences through the chat room and has gathered a few questions. Jyoti, you know all about ma'am. Of course, Suhas is also here in the room with us.
Good evening, ma'am.
Good evening, Suhas. You can hear me well?
Of course, very well, very well.
Thank you.
No, thank you for joining us again.
Thanks, Suhas.
It's a pleasure and privilege. Yeah, Jyoti, you have certain questions that have come up?
Yes, so as there's one particularly from working women. They are seeking your tips from you how this career what is the role of the family and building a successful career, and any tips that you could give to them.
We all experience, I won't say trauma. Sometimes it could be trauma, but problems in, really prioritizing what we want. And yes, I think of course, it depends on what kind of organization one is, private sector, public sector, all that. But even then, the problems are very similar. For instance, those working in public sector banks, they face more frequent transfers than the private sector banks. Of course, if you have to rise in your career, you will have to accept transfers. That is something is really not unavoidable. I remember when we joined in '72. I mean, our batch, and the RBI, we didn't have any transfers of women at all that time, and it was only about 8-9 years later. The bank started thinking. See, as more and more women join, the men also start feeling, why is it that they are not transferred or women are not transferred, subject to transfers. Everybody, the policy has to be similar, whether it's men or women. And as we have more women working, even the same problem is there for the men also. If their wives are working and if they are transferred, all these issues come up. So the best thing, said, okay, have a uniform, have a policy, which is like fair and to some extent, any a little bit accommodative in terms of which center and all that. But well, afterwards it has become a routine thing now. So now what happens when this happens? Actually, long ago in 1982, actually I was invited when I was in Bangalore as deputy controller by a public sector bank, and to advise the women, because they felt that the women are so very efficient, very good, but when they come to the middle level, then they get so those choices they have to make are so tough, and then they don't accept promotion. They're happy to be working in the bank. Their family also wants them to be working in the bank, but promotions and all don't take. You have to take care of the family. So then, me and I remember there were 2-3 other women also who were kind of trying to tell them. So what I feel is that you definitely need support of the family. There's no doubt about that. And, the family will support. I find many times that women kind of assume that, they are the ones who are to kind of bear all the burden, or it is their duty to do certain things, and they don't even ask. Like, even you can have a conversation with the spouse, with your parents or in-laws, or even children for that matter, that this is how it is, this is my career, maybe it's and it's all a question of a couple of years, when children are growing, till they go to college, because now, once they go to college, then many of them, they can manage on their own, they're grown up. So that particular time is the most crucial time, that, and I think that on both sides, from the organization point of view as well as the women themselves, maybe some adjustments can be made. And that is how you find now companies having sabbatical and all that. So that's a good policy to take care of that period, where it becomes very difficult for them to, take on responsibilities which mean moving out of the city or anything like that. But ask, that's the one advice I will give. Take them into confidence, ask, and tell them how important it is for you, that you, that you wouldn't want to miss these milestones in your career. Of course, it's your choice. I'm not saying everyone should be doing it. See, it depends on each one. Some may be perfectly happy saying that, look, my priority is family and that's it. I'm quite happy doing what I am. That's fine. But in case there should be no regret and sense of guilt. So what I'm trying to say is that, why don't you just check? Why don't you just have a conversation? Ask, and if you're interested, and a few years, maybe you need this struggle, and after that, you may be able to come out of it. At least now it is far more acceptable, where you have this spouse working in one place, the spouse, you are working in one place, the spouse working in another place. At least more acceptable to society. Earlier, when we just joined, it was, oh my God, how can you do this? Kind of. So I think this is my first advice. But yes, second thing is that, yes, you have to work hard. You might feel disadvantaged several times. You say, we are not like, men do get an advantage in terms of their networking ability, and you all feel you have a men's club and women don't get an entry into that club. But yes, that feeling will be there. But I remember some women also advising that you need to again let your superior boss know that you are interested in opportunities, and any opportunities are there. It should also be kind of discussed when you are around. But ultimately, if you really do well and if you work hard, you get recognized. But never be disheartened. That's all I can say.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you. Anuj, you would want to take the next question?
Congratulations, ma'am.
Thank you, Anuj.
Just in addition to what my colleague Jyoti asked, it's so much inspiring to know and learn your journey. So as a budding professionals like us, of this recent generation, what is one guiding principle, ma'am, which we should always keep in mind in kind of moving ahead in our professional careers? So coming from you is something which we should always keep in mind, and it would be really a great thing for us to ensure and follow that. So any one guiding principle, ma'am, from you would be really good for us to keep in mind in our careers ahead.
Yeah, it's the one guiding principle is really be sincere and genuine. So and that should come across very clearly. So people take you seriously. People believe what you say, believe in what you do. So I think that's one guiding principle I would say. But there are many other things. Like I said, I know people say you have to work smart, and I sometimes I feel whether that maybe one could have worked smarter, maybe I could have worked smarter maybe, and not being really dependent on just doing the way I do. But yes, you can work smart, that's fine. But I think being sincere, diligent, being honest, and like I always say, the intellectual integrity all that does make a difference. You may have temporary setbacks, I don't deny that, but they will be temporary.
Right,
Thank you
ma'am.
so much, ma'am.
I know it may sound
Thank you. Thanks a lot.
more kind of lecture, like, but we have gone through this. Yeah.
No, not at all. In fact, it's so down to earth and very practical kind of suggestions that you are giving. Uh, I mean, it's like demystifying everything, coming down to the brass tacks. Uh, Ma'am, on a very different topic, you see, most of the companies today are struggling on the risk, and risk has been, and you talked about the risk in your speech as well. You see, we've seen yesterday, I think the RBI talking about risk rationalization when it comes to housing loans. Is it prudent for all of us today to lower our guards under the garb of risk rationalization, uh, and kind of look at what we need to do? You see, because I'm struggling with this proposition now that
Yes.
under the garb of risk rationalization, we are probably reducing the risk threshold so that we are able to do better reporting, or we are able to manage the current situation, so to speak. Uh, is it is it healthy? Should, because what is likely to happen, ma'am, is that most of the individual banks, most of the smaller banks, and then the corporate sector is going to pick this up. So that's the, I mean,
Pay for it.
I hope I'm not asking any awkward question, but it's this conundrum that's going on in the mind where we are
Yes.
saying,
Yes.
under the risk rationalization, are we really exposing ourselves?
No, I think you have raised a very valid issue, and these dilemmas do occur, and there are so many conflicting, you know, opinions coming out, and of course, these decisions, hopefully, if it has to be taken by a committee or a group, that makes it even more difficult when each one has his own view. And there's always a feeling that, if we can manage this particular quarter, it will be easier for us in the next quarter. So, why not, just do some creativity, use creativity in the way one accounts, and for various items. And it's always, you know, you can always explain things, particularly when revenues and, the accrual system, it's not cash based. Revenues expenditure can be deferred. You know, revenues you account for in advance or earlier. And so, but one thing, and the other thing is the whole environment also sometimes makes it very difficult. And in fact, this whole, there is a huge debate about this quarter on quarter reporting, and every company looking at the performance in, how we do in this quarter, year on year, quarter on quarter. The whole focus is so short term, so short term. I think this is where the problem lies. And I remember once, this is of course some time ago. So I was telling the chairman, quarterly results, yes, the moment you declare the results, the next day, headlines that this is what, or, they've fallen short of expectations. That's the first thing. And the, analysts have expected this, but you've fallen short of analysis, you've fallen short of what you did last time. And there'll be such negative reporting. But, you have, if you go over that first phase, and then you declare what you think is the right thing to do, and then the next quarter comes, it won't be so bad because you've already disclosed what was the position. But I'm not saying you overdo that, but be realistic in your assumptions. And yes, there may be you're not happy with what the outcome is. But kicking the can down the road doesn't help. At some point, the problem will only get bigger. And at that time, you won't be able to explain. So that quarter, yes, forgotten. You tell me after one quarter result is over, does anybody remember that quarter? They're looking to the next quarter. So everybody is looking at what happens in the next quarter. So my advice is that, it's better to recognize if the problem is something that will not get, anyway, you're not very sure about how it will be, how the outcome will be. And you need to at least disclose that this is the issue. And that is how RBI also sometimes allows. Yes, you see, you know your destination, that you have to make these provisions. Okay, don't make everything in one quarter. Do it in 2-3 quarters. That's how RBI allows sometimes. In the past they've done that. So even this moratorium, all that are something which the RBI has allowed. But at least in the case of regulated entities like RBI, you at least have somebody kind of being with you and saying you can do this, but they don't sacrifice the long-term interest. They say that you have to treat that account later as restructure, look at the cash flow. So you see all those conditions that have been put is to take care of that. I think we've had very bad experience with evergreening of NPAs and kicking the can down the road, like I said, deferring all the provisioning. And it has not helped at all. We've done that in the past. Allowed all kinds of restructuring, any number of schemes. And we didn't have a bankruptcy code. So I think the best policy is to realistically, the risk. See, risk, I agree, you have to take risk. And maybe you're ready to take a little more risk, but that risk should be a kind of a business risk.
Correct.
And not do something else.
No, I completely agree. Thank you very much for that answer. And on a very lighter note, I would want to end this. When we talk about quarterly reports, we talk about it as QSQT. It's like Kayamat se Kayamat tak. Every quarter is broken down, and it's QSQT. Madam, thank you very much. I would thanks a lot. We're really grateful to you.
Okay, thank you, and wish you all the very best. Wish all the viewers the very best, and the working women all the best in your careers. And of course, Anuj and the young professionals too. Okay, thank you.
Ma'am, thank you very much. Truly a privilege.
Thanks. Thank you. Thank you for that.